Hello, my name is Jen Loki, September 20th, 22. I have no note cards except the one with my name on it that I just showed you. Sorry, I hope this is not making you nauseous. It's kind of making me nauseous. I'm sitting on the floor with nothing around. No note cards. All right. So integumentary system is the cutaneous membrane and the subcutaneous membrane beneath that, as well as accessory structures. The cutaneous membrane is made of the epidermis, which is superficial to the dermis below. Let's start the deepest layer. So the subcutaneous is made of loose connective tissue, including areolar tissue and adipose tissue cells kind of spread throughout. That is also known as the hypodermis or the superficial fascia. So it has three names. And then we have the dermis. The dermis is made of the reticular layer, which is deep, to the papillary layer above it. The papillary layer is made of loose connective tissue, and the reticular layer is made of dense, irregular connective tissue. This is the region where a lot of those, accessory structures are found, including nails, hair, sweat glands, and sebaceous glands, oil glands. So let's talk about those quickly. The sweat glands, there are two kinds, apocrine and eccrine, though they both secrete using the eccrine method of secretion. Apocrine, these were thought to have half of the cell destroyed as the secretion is released, but it turns out that's not true, and the name still stuck. But apocrine sweat glands secrete a sort of an odoriferous, milky smelling stuff, and these are only found in the groin and the armpits and the nipples. These are definitely, I'm familiar with these. I have two teenage boys in the house, so apocrine glands are, active, and these are also where pheromones are said or thought to be released as well, which I find very interesting. And then eccrine sweat glands are all over, and they produce 99% water, a substance that's 99% water, along with some salts and things. Sebaceous glands are oil glands, and this oil is called sebum, and it has an antimicrobial factor to it, so it helps protect and lubricate the epidermis. And they can either dump their sebum into a hair follicle, and then it kind of comes up to the surface through that, or they have their own follicles, sebaceous follicles, where there's no hair, and it communicates directly with the surface of the epidermis. And hair and nails. The hair, there are two different kinds of hair, actually three. The lanugo is the kind that develops when an embryo is about 3 months old and then sloughs off before birth. And then terminal hairs are the hairs on our heads and eyebrows and eyelashes. And then you have the hairs that are not pigmented, really thin, and that's kind of like the peach fuzz that's all over the rest of us. Okay, the epidermis, this is the most superficial layer, and this is actually made of 4 or 5 different layers of squamous epithelial cells. The innermost or deepest layer is called the stratum basale, and this is where large stem cells called basal cells are in a single cell layer, and these differentiate eventually into keratinocytes, which are cells that are the most abundant in the epidermis, and the keratinocytes produce keratin fibers, and keratinohyalin, which together form this matrix that helps protect the stuff below it, basically. It helps prevent drying out. The epithelial cells or the tissue is avascular, so it doesn't get nutrients and oxygen the same way, say, connective tissue would, or connective tissue cells. Stratum spinosum is an interesting one. That one is the second to the deepest of the epidermal layers. This is where tonofibrils help knit those keratinocytes together at desmosomes. And these connections last longer than the cells themselves, which means that when they've died and gotten to the stratum corneum, the connections still exist. So when dead cells slough off, they often slough off in a sheet, which is funny because I ran a marathon this weekend and I had a giant chunk of heel skin come off in one giant piece of dead cells. My friends made me throw it away because they thought it was gross. It was really cool though, and proves that those connections made in the spinosum layer are very strong. So then you have the stratum granulosum, which is the last layer of living cells before you have stratum lucidum, only in the palms of your hand or soles of your feet, which is the thick skin, most mechanical stress. And then, like I said, the stratum corneum is on the outside and is a bunch of dead cells that are flattened. And let's see, what else was I going to say about that? I'm totally out of time. I'm really sorry for going over time. There's so much to say.